Hey everybody, my name is Jared and I am a Master Mason in the state of Mississippi in the United States of America, wearing the Sprig of Acacia pin from Edgar Alejandro over at Masonic Revival. And this is one of those little get to know you kind of videos. This isn't going to fall in the normal routine. I've got two questions here from viewers that I want to answer that are a little more personal than they are about why Freemasonry is the way that it is or related to any degree structure. So the first question here is, why are your children homeschooled? So I mentioned in a previous video that all 5 of our children are homeschooled and that my wife stays home with them during the day. The fact of the matter is they're homeschooled today out of a matter of habit. That's sort of just what we've gotten used to doing. It used to be when we first started homeschooling them, there was a combination of 2 different things. First, my wife was working at the time. She was working from home doing a like customer service agent sort of job. That's very I don't know, oversimplifying her position there, but she was able to do it just like I'm doing these videos, with a headset in a quiet room and taking care of people and taking care of customers. And she was also a training officer, teaching other people how to do those things. Well, in that position, she was working the late shift or the swing shift or whatever you might call it where you are. The point is, she wasn't getting off to like 11 or midnight. And because of that, then I was going to work before the kids had to leave for school. So she was having to get off work at like midnight, take whatever amount of time to unwind and get to a point where she could actually fall asleep, and then be right back up at like 4 in the morning to start getting kids ready for school. It just so happens that our kids were the first ones on the bus, and so it was really darn early in the morning, and it was getting really taxing on her to do that. Well, at the same time, the kids were also having some problems in school. We had teachers telling us to get them on all sorts of ADHD medicine and all sorts of different things, and it got frustrating. Now, for those watching who have a concern, please don't take that as a dismissal about ADHD. I understand it's a recognized thing, and I believe that it is a real thing. But I also believe that there are people who jump to conclusions without taking into the account that 8-year-old boys can only be so quiet when they finish a test, and that something like rolling a pencil on the desk is not something to take a child to a doctor for, when the simple solution of reading a book was agreeable by all. But I digress. The point is that there were issues at school and issues at home, and so my wife and I talked about it, and we both thought that homeschooling would be a good solution. So what we ended up doing is switching over to that. Mississippi is very informal about homeschooling. We do have to turn in a piece of paper annually that says what lesson program we're following and which children are staying home from school to be homeschooled. And that's it. We account for it that one time per year, and we've done it for enough years now that we know the truancy officer. We go in, we fill it out, and it's more of a "hey, how you doing today" thing, and than it is any sort of, you know, like official office paperwork, boring stuff. So now we're just in the routine of it. There's really no good reason to not send the kids to school, except that we've fallen into this routine. Each one of my kids has a computer. You understand that sending kids to school is expensive. You know, sending them to school, getting school uniforms and all the supplies for all the different children, it's expensive. And when you don't do that, you can apply that money to more useful resources like little computers, not big hosses. We're not talking about playing the latest video game, but we're talking about get the schoolwork done computers. So the kids have computers and they can do all their various schoolwork on it, and they're doing everything from the littlest ones learning how to type and getting better at the keyboard skills and getting better at their reading skills to the older ones are on Rosetta Stone learning foreign languages, and we get in some of those little kits. Like if you've ever seen them on the internet, there's a program through a company called Mel Science that you can teach the kids chemistry. And matter of fact, we did just one earlier today. Well, actually we did two earlier today, showing the kids different little science experiments and stuff I was never exposed to in school, and you can get a lot more done. And we've also noticed a value about the one-on-one nature of it. So if you go to school, you're one of 30 kids in a class, maybe you got in an hour and a half long block 5 minutes of the teacher's attention one-on-one if you're lucky. Here the kids get it easily. They easily get that one-on-one. It's not a problem at all. And because of that, you can get what maybe in a traditional format school would take an hour worth of teaching to do done in less than 15 minutes, because you only had to focus on that one child and knock out the learning rather than spread it out and take an hour to do it. And maybe one kid got it in 15 minutes and now they're rolling a pencil on a desk and they're a disruption. I digress. I'm going back there again. But the point is, we've gotten in a routine, and so the kids are homeschooled. A lot of people make an automatic assumption that because the kids are homeschooled, it has something to do with faith. A lot of times, or I should probably say that I have no empirical evidence whatsoever, but I can tell you from people speaking to us that the automatic assumption is, oh, your kids are homeschooled. It must be because you want to do like a rigid faith-based program. And that's not the case for us. I got no problem with other people who want to do that, but it wasn't a matter, that wasn't the consideration for us. For us, it started as a matter of convenience, and now it's a matter of habit. So there you are. So the second question today is, how did you become Worshipful Master twice in 6 years? So that is perhaps unusual in your jurisdiction. If you want to hear that whole story, you aren't familiar with my past, you can go over to my website. There's a link right here in this video. Just click that little I button up in the corner and you can go to the About page. And I've already spelled out my entire history on there, and you can read about when I joined, how quickly I went through the degrees, when I served in what chair, what appendant bodies I'm a part of, and the whole kit and caboodle. So you can go there and read about it. But this questioner is correct. Worshipful Master within 6 years of each other. So here's how that happens. You have a capacity for memorization. You're pretty quick at it. And you join a small country lodge that only has so many members in the first place. So my lodge, not the smallest one around, but certainly not the biggest either. We have, I believe, on our rolls about 75 Master Masons. I think there's like about 125 if you count the EAs and fellowcrafts that, mostly EAs, that never came back. And then inside of that, you talk about maybe 40 of them that live in the area. So you're talking about a good chunk of them that are dues paying members that don't live in the area anymore, but they pay us, or they're disabled and they just can't make it to lodge easily. So we break that down to 40, and then let's say on an average we get about a dozen people to show up to any and all meetings, and on a good day maybe we get a few more than that. Alright, so those are the numbers we're working with here. So you get 12 people to show up to a lodge. Who are you going to put in the chair? Well, I quickly was put into the senior deacon chair, and then was quickly put into the junior warden chair the very next year. And then when I was traditionally expected to step up to the senior warden chair, that gentleman, because of his employment, decided not to accept the responsibility and the time commitment of being the master, and I was made the master. Alright, so fast forward a few years later, and we ran into a similar situation. we had a bunch of brand new Master Masons, but the people who previously served as the junior and senior warden, which I should mention in the state of Mississippi, you can't be the master of the lodge unless you have served as a warden in any lodge anywhere. You had to have been a warden before you can be the master. So as it happened, right before election, the men that were in those positions, usually the two you had a chance to even consider to be made the master, were already past masters. So that was a shot. There wasn't an option to make one of them the master and continue the line, so to speak. So as it happened, there were about 4 of us, if memory serves, that were available for the task. One of which specifically requested not to be considered. He had already just served as Master of the Lodge, and he was not interested in a consecutive term. He's a very busy man with a very busy career, and so it was quite reasonable for him to say, "Thank you for the consideration, but no thanks." And as such, the lodge turned around and said, "Hey, Jared," I say they said it. They said it by fact of casting their votes. They elected me and I accepted it. So from that hurdle, we turned around and had a whole bunch of new Masons that stepped into those warden positions. They were both new Masons, and now we're back into the line, so to speak. So that's how that happens. I mean, I am confident that there are places where you literally have to spend the full 7 years or more working your way up through every single position and doing the traditional, if you will, progression up the line. But there are also thousands of lodges like mine where you're back in the woods and there's only a handful of you, and you're getting the job done, but occasionally there's a break in the line, so to speak, and somebody has to say, "Yes, I'll do that job." So that is how you become Worshipful Master twice in 6 years. So I hope that answers your question. I know that I don't do very many of these more personal videos, but if you have a personal question, something that's not related to Freemasonry in general or to the degrees, then please still leave those, and I will pile them up, and when I have 2 or 3 of them that I think would work well in a video, I'll turn around and make another one like this. So please leave your questions below. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch. We'll see you next time.